Now, anytime we bring up numeral statistics when it comes to entertainment factors, when it comes to different mediums, is always a shortcoming. There's always an asterisk. There's always just a reason. AEW, Dynamite, and Collision Meltzer has more excuses uh, for televised ratings due to a WNBA back-to-back series than a fucking toxic ex-girlfriend going over the reason why you cheated because she had a suspicion that you probably cheated in her dreams. That's the equivalent, because most of the aspects of AEW Dynamite being any type of general consensus of something that takes up televised media is absolutely stupid. AEW Collision around September 6th. Nights prior, like just under 24 hours away from the return of Sunday football for the NFL. Late night, probably colliding over with some primetime college football games, went for a record low 300,000 views over 18 to 49 demographic. The demo went 0.7, and then a record low rating for AEW Dynamite over 400, I think 447,000, 472,000. A record low. But it was all a good match, right? It was all a good match. Oh, also, AJ Lee has returned to television, feuding with two of the biggest power couple in the WWE, with CM Punk with her, in a couples feud that's going to happen at WrestlePalooza. You know what else is happening over in WrestlePalooza? An AEW pay-per-view. You're fucked. AEW is so in the middle of not even knowing what their product is doing. I think they keep forgetting that their content is based on hype. Wrestling is built on hype and building over attraction. Just going for the run-in-the-mill song and dance while you have your own populace of fans. You take it like they're not going to see AJ Lee that they haven't seen since they were probably a preteen. Where AEW's fans' little Johnny jiggles of spiteful Vince McMahon hate comes over and they take your customers away. Because I think Meltzer and even Tony Khan has this misconception that their AEW fans are not wrestling fans. Minutely enough, they're going to see the wrestlers that grabs the most attention, that are the coolest characters. And that's how we're going to draw our show. Not fucking Mark Briscoe versus MJF on pay-per-view. MJF that squandered his title match against Hangman Adam Page back at All In. Not All In. Back at Forbidden Door. Then a trios match involving the Hurt Syndicate versus Ricochet and two brown jobbers. Mercedes Moné, that's still the TBS champion. Belt collector. B rank. That's still thinks she's the most important draw even on the AEW women's division. Even though Toni Storm is literally the biggest female star that doesn't even need the belt. Put that shit back on Jamie Hayter, because Chris Statlander ate it. Thekla ate it. Women's division is in a complete shambles. Moxley and Darby going for a coffin match might steal the show, knowing it's something that fits both criterias, both guys on the same method of how they like their wrestling style, how unhinged it is. It works over the method involving Darby returning back over to claim his spot and try to get rid of the Death Riders. And it's Edge and Christian's hometown. Two 50-year-old unks feuding with the most markish tag team in the goddamn roster. The only upside is there are no Young Bucks to headline. That's it. Because I am not watching Riho versus Mercedes Moné, bro. How do you even pop a number like 300,000? That's half of the audience of NXT. How you got a less... I swear, I think Saturday Morning Slam had better ratings on when they were on CW. Back when they were called fucking Vortex. That was 4Kids, if anybody that didn't remember. They were trying to compete and try to modernize their way to try to compete with Disney XD, and just completely like squander their audience, because Tony Khan doesn't take it like their audience grows. You've already squandered that since you got rid of Punk. You've tried to get guys that don't look like legitimate people that are ready for televised events, and then book over your preferential stars that don't gain the most attraction, don't get the biggest pop, don't look the most presentable, don't have the best mic presence. If that's the case, MJF should have been the world champion back on the last pay-per-view over a heel faction, because most of what you guys have is heel factions. You guys don't have legitimate marketable baby faces. One of your key founders of the roster, Kenny Omega, there isn't anything that doesn't involve critiques about what happens backstage. And yet you have the unmitigated gall to go over, like, and don't get me wrong, I have my critiques about Triple H. But when it comes over to the delusion, the overall remnants of delusion that Jake Hager brings up, and I know Jake Hager isn't that really relevant around the wrestling world, but he already apparently brings up most of what fans been prying about Tony Khan's ability to manage a wrestling roster. His lack of a backbone, creativity. I swear I've seen 8-man tag team all-star matches like it's a Ring of Honor special, all-star extravaganza. No draw. If that was the case, their rights wouldn't be bought out for a televised C show that nobody watches on YouTube. No, I think it's on Honor TV, or the Honor Network or the Fight Network for their streaming rights. Hell, Dynamite might be on Access, because you're already pulling over a standard amount of views and not pushing over the general audience, but you're just making the sub-average until Tony Khan makes his real money, and that's the PLE. And whenever the Jaguars are playing, because Tony Khan doesn't listen to the demand that nobody wants to be in bumblefuck ECW arena when you got guys that make millions of dollars not get presented in their own base. You have dailies placed to yourself. You have wrestlers that have near half a century of experience in the business. People that budget that you could use on production, writers, choreography, different events, atmospheric changes. Like, it's trash. And you guys are going to get gobsmacked when you know WrestlePalooza will pimp slap AEW. And I'm not even saying this over the bias that I care about who fails or who loses. Because overall, I want both wrestling feds to prosper. I want AEW to build over a good show. I hope it's a great show for All Out. You're just not competing on a pay-per-view that has less matches and yet are going to have more things to talk about. The Usos reunite over one of the biggest baby faces with the most popular chant. Reunite to face off against the biggest faction on the Raw roster. Io Sky versus Stephanie Vaquer. I'm sure there's a lot of fanfare on Stephanie Vaquer. Then you have two of the biggest power couples matchup that's probably going to go to some Survivor Series, so there'll be build over there involving the heat between Punk and Seth Rollins with a returning fan favorite like AJ Lee, and then you got Brock Lesnar versus John Cena. And I can understand the allegations are pushing around a lot of people's brains over how they're preferably just don't accept Brock Lesnar as an overall outstanding talent that's of the legitimacy level to fit whatever bubble to try to scrap over to sound different. But whatever you think it is, just know millions of people are going to pay a lot more to see Brock Lesnar than your favorite wrestler from back when they were in New Japan curtain jerking, to now in WWE where they're curtain jerking. Like Jey Uso's gonna do come WrestlePalooza. Like, Jesus Christ, bro. Just know, like, this is sadly gonna beat over the expense of some talented people over on AEW is a travesty. Because we've had segments that clip over AJ Lee returning, getting in a fight with Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins getting disrespected by Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins instigating. Punk bringing back AJ Lee to numerous amount of pops. I have friends that call me over reminiscing of what they were doing as kids back in 2013. Nobody wants to see Edge and Christian match against Bumblefuck Pistol Whipping Cash Wheeler and Dax Bald Ass Hardwood. And Moxley cut himself open for Darby Allin to just miss 15 yards out over the outside for just a 5-star hardcore classic. Blading himself with a fucking pizza cutter. Like, I know what to expect off a Moxley match. It's depressing. Why is MJF feuding with Mark Briscoe? Why? Collision overall should have been just replaced with Ring of Honor. It should have. Because what are we doing? Most of this build-up is not even going to take the card. This was your show. Moxley beats Daniel Garcia. I heard they were intertwining in Daniel Garcia coming into the faction. No one cares. FTR beats Tommy Dillington and Adam Priest. Why just a random squash match? And you guys shit on WWE style of booking of squash matches. Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa, Chris Statlander, and Haley Carmen. Bro, Haley Cameron I haven't seen on TV in a minute. Versus Megan Bynum, Triangle of Madness, and the Triangle of Madness. And Konosuke Takeshita versus Mark Briscoe. With segments involving, like, Mike Bailey that's not going to be a star, and Jay Lethal. Like, Jay fucking Lethal, bro. I think I haven't seen him on TV in 2 years since that whole Jeff Jarrett thing with the Don Callis family. In a hologram, they keep pushing these random jobber luchadors that just can't get over, bro. Y'all wish I'd be hating, but it's showing over in the analytics. You guys are not watching this. They can push it over to a different streaming service. WWE has literally produced several different paywalls, and we have people pushing a second mortgage, and they will sacrifice their money to watch, because there's fans like that. You don't see AEW fans sacrificing their money for something that they don't see value in, because WWE exists. And that's not even a shot. That's just an existence. That's the difference of an alternative over a superior product. I wish I was lying. Tony Khan is really not pushing over the standard. He's not listening to his core audience. He's not pushing over the envelope what he wants to do with a televised product. And it just feels like over the same song and dance. You can even see on Dynamite. I'm not playing with you, bro. It feels like the same song and dance. If I look up the last 3 weeks episodes and they try to push these cards like a week in advance, instead of out of nowhere, where you can actually catch fans off guard. All-Star Tag Team match. All-Star Tag Team match. This is coming over to August 20th, by the way. All-Star Tag Team match. Again, involving the Callis family, Kyle Fletcher, Josh Alexander, the Young Bucks. Defeat Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and the Jet Speed. It's Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. Yeah, that's what you do with your former X Division champion. And Josh Alexander. Turn them into lackeys. Brody King and Bandito are tag teams. Facing off against Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, the most disinteresting technical group of guys you thought were Ring of Honor tag team champions. Mark Briscoe, that they keep pushing over as his plucky babyface due to the death of his brother Jay Briscoe. God damn, it's depressing. And Mercedes Moné, that know it takes a 40-year-old AJ Lee to push over the conversation for the women's division. Then Mercedes Moné getting another backstage scuffle, getting as much heat as possible. She is literally the equivalent of when Russell Wilson joined the Denver Broncos back in like the early parts of the 2020s. When he was pushing over in Seattle, they thought that was going to push the envelope. They finally fixed their quarterback problem. No, actually, we just need to get somebody that was a bit of a late bloomer. Somebody that can know the system, not too big for his britches, doesn't have his own office in the goddamn stadium, and can actually learn with us. And become a key piece of the team. That's Toni Storm. You're not the biggest star on the roster. How to be the biggest star on the roster? I never need the belt to book you in the main event. Mercedes has 9. Why do you need that many belts? John Cena was still headlining pay-per-views back in 2012 and 2011. Y'all can count how many times he's headlined over Punk, and Punk was the reigning world champion until 2013. He was headlining Survivor Series back in 2011 when R-Truth and Miz were the biggest heel faction after that bullshit that happened over in Hell in a Cell. He headlined a pay-per-view with John Laurinaitis when he was the key GM of both SmackDown and Raw. He headlined, I swear to God, he probably headlined No Way Out to fire Laurinaitis back in 2012. He headlined, I think he headlined TLC, or no, I don't think he headlined TLC 2012. All I'm seeing, like, you can headline your biggest star. Hogan doesn't even need the world title, and he headlines. Toni Storm is a caricature around just her being this over-the-top, raunchy, like, I can put Toni Storm as a character in a comic strip. I can put her in a goddamn comedic scene, and you know what to get off Toni Storm. She is that good of a character. And that's what happens when you push over something beyond just being a wrestler. You don't play the wrestler. You are the wrestler. You're just playing a part. And that's how to develop it. Mercedes is just making a fat paycheck over this. And just getting as many belts to feed over her ego that she can't really legitimately be a star in any fed that doesn't have her name wrapped around anybody else that's important more than her. Like Charlotte. Like Snoop Dogg. Like Eddie Guerrero. Go fuck yourself. You're not as big as Bayley at this point. That's how sad it is. We can't have you headline pay-per-views, Mercedes, after facing Alex Windsor. We can't be doing this, Tony. You gotta put your foot down. That Alex Windsor, that looks like the most quirky TikToker back in 2021, is going to be a star here. And just looking at these wide-angle things, you think that she was part of WOW on the lesbian division. Like, she looks smacked. How people expect her to be rated over, and she looks like she's in a relationship with Will Ospreay, so I can see probably the correlation of why she's booked highly to be feuding with guys like Mercedes Moné. And it's sad. We're still pushing Daniel Garcia in Big 2025. The Don Callis family, like anybody names me a top babyface on the roster, I'll pay you. I'll pay you, AEW. I'll pay you. Like, who is the major attraction here? Y'all screwed MJF. Darby Allin literally would rather go to Mount Everest and get paid over his legitimate contract than actually get booked over your bumblefuck show killing himself. He'd rather get frostbite. Moxley literally legitimately kills the ratings, and now you guys have no legitimate world champion because Hangman Adam Page is duller than Jeff Jarrett with a bigger microphone and a faker guitar in 2004 on TNA. And now you got nobody in the mid-card. They had to unify the belt to make it more relevant for the international and the continental, to make it, the intercontinental AEW belt or something, just for Okada to still be the most relevant Japanese overhyped contract flop to ever exist, because all he has to do is do a drop kick, do work rate, and get paid. while saying, I'm sorry, I don't speak English promos every fucking day, getting carried over by a shitty manager. And and Edge and Christian killing themselves half to death, even though combined they're 100 years old. Like, it's depressing. Like, they need to do something here. Elevate the show, push the concept, produce some more cinematography, try to get more animaic with your with the way you guys segment your stars. Do presentation. It's not hard. Even though I'm saying that, even though I haven't worked a day in the wrestling business, you're trying to catch over a televised program, not just sell a wrestling show. You guys are beyond that. And Tony Khan, until he understands that, you guys will probably be in the 23andMe goddamn arena next time. You guys will be in auditoriums. You'll come from home of ECW to home of Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor started off in a goddamn high school gym. That's it for me over in the DSD show. Like, comment, subscribe for more. You feel like AEW will ever get out of this slump of at least back to near 600 to 700,000 viewers on televised broadcast? Or trying to push over their bullshit bumblefuck paywall excuse and pushing over sporting events when these guys haven't even cracked 1 million, and they make it sound like They just make it sound like Jesus Christ come back from the dead whenever you see these guys hit 900,000. Now it's a milestone. When they were season premiering, they were pushing around 1.2 million, and they were somewhat or still around the mark of the time even when Rampage was premiering. So the problem is the guys in the back, Tony Khan's management. It's obvious that he needs a writing team, a formatting team, and your veterans. When you guys had Mark Henry, Big Show, guys that were probably in the locker rooms, speaking to the boys, knows how to format and know a foundational way to try to produce stars, get guys that actually know how to televise programming, get guys that are easy over production, to book your guys to look like megastars. Pentagon already looks like he always been on the WWE for the past 10 years, and the nigga just debuted in just last year or this year. That's sad. This is sad. Some AEW guys that get released don't even regret leaving at all. Like Jimmy Havoc, we know his allegations. He's gone. Zack Ryder, that was there for a cup of coffee, and he doesn't regret that cup of coffee, but he's still on his Indeed every time he pushes for any indie fed. You don't hear any podcasts of AEW wrestlers squandering their opportunities to live over on AEW because they know it's just a showcase to go back to WWE. That's it for me. I'm just being honest. WrestlePalooza, they're getting smashed. They're getting smashed because you're not drawing. WWE packing out arenas with AJ Lee. You guys barely pack out 2,300 at NXT TakeOver arena. That's depressing.